This is what my tarot practice has actually looked like for the past few months. Today's video is going to be part decks I've been loving, part tarot experiments I've been running, and part reflecting on the tarot reading slump that I've been stuck in. I want to share what I have been doing, what's fallen by the wayside, and how I'm thinking about getting back into the swing of things. But firstly, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my patrons who chose this video today. If you want to help shape what I do here and get extra content while supporting me, there is a link to my Patreon page in the description. All right, we have a lot of ground to cover. Tarot lab results, no more daily draw practice, current favorite decks, tarot reading slump. Let's get into it. I want to start with a bit of a recap of what I've been getting up to over in the tarot lab, which is something I run over on Patreon. We have a different theme, a different tarot technique, different part of the tarot system that we study every month. This month, September, we're doing timing techniques. And I want to wrap up the last few months of the tarot lab. So in June, we were doing astrology in the tarot. And this was an absolute joy for me because astrology and the tarot, blending astrology and tarot astrology as I call it, is one of my favorite things. The two decks that I ended up loving the most from that month of Tarot Lab study were the Deleted World and the Thoth deck. And the reason I really like both of these is because they both have the astrological the astrological information right front and center of the cards. So here we have Mars in Gemini for the Nine of Swords. Death is Scorpio, and we've also got the glyph for Pluto there. The Seven of Cups, this is Venus in Scorpio. And then here on the Thoth Tarot, we have the Ten of Discs. The Ten of Discs, which is Virgo here and Mercury up here. The star is Aquarius, which we can see down at the bottom there in the title. The swords, the aces, all of their element. And then the six, we've got Jupiter in Leo for the Six of Wands. So they both have the astrological information front and center on the cards, which is really helpful for me because I don't have them all memorized yet. I'm kind of getting used to them as I do the decks for the signs videos every month. I'm kind of getting to know them a little bit better. These two look beautiful together. We've got the Four of Discs and the Seven of Cups. Just gorgeous colours. So these are both turning into favourite decks of mine. I actually really love how they look together here. And they were pretty consistent picks for June for my tarot astrology lab studies because the information is right there on the card and I don't have to think too hard about it. One of my favorite practices from this tarot astrology lab was to personalize my own meanings of the astrology in tarot. And so this is just a little page from my notes. And I kind of did this by blending what I already know about astrology and what I know about the corresponding tarot card. So like with the sun, one of my keywords, one of my key interpretations of the sun card in tarot is that the sun is about being super visible and it's about a lack of privacy. And this is something I know I've brought up on Patreon before. My patrons are probably sick of hearing me say this, but I'm pretty sure I brought it up on this channel before. And combining that with the not even astrological interpretation I have of the sun, but just the facts of the sun. The sun is a star. The sun gives life. It burns really hot, but it's also a double-edged sword because it can, people get sunburn. The sun can burn you, and it's not something to be taken lightly. And I think that is true of this kind of visibility and prominence almost that comes with the sun card. So that was a really interesting exercise that I really enjoyed. In July, we were doing court cards and court card personalities in particular. So the Thoth actually was one that I kept out for July. The Thoth is becoming an absolute favorite of mine, but I really, really love the court cards in the Thoth deck. I think they're just really beautiful. Honestly, I think the whole Thoth deck is really beautiful. And another deck I reached for quite a lot during July doing court cards was the Gay Marseille Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess because, come on, the court cards in this deck are just absolutely beautiful. I love this whole deck so much. The Gay Marseille is such a favourite. and the court cards are just something else. They're just gorgeous. So they're obviously completely different art styles, very clearly completely different art styles. They are trying to do different things in their decks. Obviously, the Game Marseille is very deliberately representative of the queer community and queer history, which cannot be said for the Thoth deck. The Thoth deck is trying to be esoteric and Crowley-ish. But I really adore the court cards in both decks, and I reached for these both a lot during July, and it was absolute joy to work with them. So what I actually got up to during July for my court cards month was I started exploring the numerology of the courts a little bit, and this isn't something that I landed on in any kind of defined way. Like, I don't feel like I've cracked my own personal system for court card numerology. I did go down a bit of a rabbit hole, or a few different rabbit holes, and it was actually really, really interesting. I ended up connecting the numerology to the elements via their respective major arcana cards according to the numerology. I know I was a little bit inspired by Red Tarot, which puts the knights as like key 7 with the major arcana. This would make the pages correspond with air because of the magician. The knights would correspond with either the high priestess as 2 or the chariot as 7, which is what came from the Red Tarot book, and that would make them watery. And the queens relate to 3 is the earth element, and then the kings relate to 4 is fire. The knights as water I thought was really interesting because connecting the knights to either the priestess as key 1 of the major arcana or to the chariot following the Red Tarot book also relates into the moon, and the moon reflects light from elsewhere. The moon reflects the light of the sun, and I thought that really mapped onto the knights really well because the knights are following the will of, their king or whoever they serve. So I thought that was really interesting. And I want to come back to this actually and revisit this and maybe flesh this out for myself a little bit more with my own like personal gnosis, personal notes. So that was very cool because I've never really thought about the numerology of the court cards in that way before. And then August was a month of multi-deck readings in the Tarot Lab, a reading with multiple decks, mixing tarot and tarot, mixing tarot and oracle. This is something I love, love, love to do in my practice. I talk about it here all the time. I am always showing like deck pairs and deck groupings, and I had a great time. I did lots of mind art readings. I was trying different combinations of tarot decks. I spent some time finding links between different decks that I've not really paired before. And some of the deck groupings that I sort of came up with are carrying through into September. You will have seen them already actually in my TBR for August, if you will, if you watch that video. When Olga Speaks and the Circle of Doors is a new favourite tarot pairing. I did a couple of readings with these together. Both of these decks are ones that I love separately, but just sing in combination when I pull them out as a deck pair. And I love to do an oracle and 2 tarot. It's visually pleasing, we've got that balance, but also I like pairing the structure of tarot as like the kind of framing on both sides, and then I put the oracle deck, whatever the oracle deck may be, I pull that in the middle, and it's kind of maybe bridging the 2 tarot cards. Maybe I'm using the 2 tarot cards to kind of make sense of it. So we have mend in the middle with death and rebel on either side. So I think that little grouping just goes to show that this is a deck pairing I like to sit and journal with, because honestly, nothing springs to mind. But yeah, this is an absolutely gorgeous pairing that I really, really enjoy. And then another deck grouping I fell hard in love with in August is the Thoth Tarot together with the Ritual Tarot and the Wild Unknown Pocket Archetypes. Again, you've just seen me show this trio off in my August decks video, but I can't help it. I can't help it. They're just so good together. And again, this is a pretty deep and moody trio. This isn't very light and fluffy. I did have some light and fluffy pairs and groups, maybe not groups, but I definitely had some light and fluffy pairs in my kind of in the mix in August for my multi-deck month. But I've not been doing a lot of easy breezy light readings, and I suppose that is as excellent as opportunity as any to kind of move into what else I've been doing in my tarot practice, which is not very much. I'm going to be so honest with you. I've been in a bit of a tarot slump, it feels like, for a few months now. I don't know if I'd call it tarot burnout exactly. I don't feel burned out. The interest is there. The interest is always there for tarot. And like, I've been thinking a lot about tarot. I've been running the tarot lab over on Patreon. I've been making videos. I've been making videos for Patreon. Like, I've been thinking about my cards and working with my cards. I just feel like my personal practice has fallen by the wayside a little bit. In a spirit of being very honest with you, I've given up on my daily draw. My daily draw in my gorgeous traveler's notebook with my watercolored pages that I love so much and that I know a lot of you love so much. I get a lot of comments on this book. I've just stopped. I was really slacking in Cancer season. I was using the Guardian of the Night, which is no comment on the deck. I love that deck. I just have stopped feeling inclined to do my daily card pull, which feels very weird because I've been doing this consistently for like a good couple of years now in this particular format. And obviously, I've had a daily draw practice at various points while I've been reading the tarot. It feels a little weird not to be doing a daily draw practice because I feel like the daily draw is such a pillar of a tarot practice. It's one of those things that everybody is advised to do when they're learning. It's something that just so many people do, and it feels a bit weird not to be doing this, but I have just quite frankly kind of stopped caring. I've kind of just stopped wanting to do this. I found myself, I was taking breaks. I did a couple of random days and I was thinking about kind of backfilling to catch up because that's what I do in previous months. Even when I've been really consistent with this practice, I've never, I don't want to say never, I very infrequently have actually been pulling it out every single day and pulling one card every single day. I usually, will do some days, but then like a weekend, I'll end up catching up for a few days, or I might miss a few days here and there, and I'm kind of doing them in batches sometimes. You can see this year's just been a bit. I mean, this was, let's see, this was this year because this was Aquarius. Like Dreams of Gaia, I wasn't loving. The Foraxa Tarot in the month that I used that, also kind of big failure. But then like the Circle of Doors, which I used in Pisces season, I adored pulling this deck every day. And I think it's just because I love the deck. I am wondering if maybe this is feeling less compelling to me because I've not been buying a lot of new decks. And the decks that I could use, because this is a guidebook practice as much as it is a tarot practice, if that makes sense. I've got a lot of decks that don't have good guidebooks and so are not eligible to be a daily draw. And the decks that I have got and could use, I've either used already or I just don't really want to. So I'm not saying the solution to my problem is to buy a bunch of new decks, but I think maybe that's why this has fallen by the wayside a little bit and I'm just not really feeling it lately. That is my daily draw practice, or not so daily draw practice, which has kind of fallen off. Although this daily draw practice has not been so hot for the past few months, I have this month, so literally the past few days, started a daily-ish tarot challenge. I'm doing the Lionhearts September tarot challenge over on Instagram. And I've already pulled the cards and set them aside and put them in little packets for every 3 or 4 days. And so all I have to do is every 3 or 4 days, I open the packet, I write down the questions, I write down the cards I've pulled. And if I don't do more than that, I've decided that's okay. And so the 3 decks that I'm using together for this challenge this month are the Jupiter Power Tarot, the Wild Unknown Tarot, and the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle, which was yet another favourite grouping that I played with last month in August. This trio was also in my autumn decks video, so if you want to see more of the cards together, go check that out. And I'm 2 sort of packets in, if you will. These 3 are the cards that I've pulled for the 4th, 5th, 6th of September. And so far, I'm enjoying this. I think the novelty of having a little present to open is really working for me. And I want to get back into doing more low stakes readings for myself. I already mentioned that I feel like I did a lot of intense readings, or I did no readings in the last few months. And I want to kind of shift that a little bit and give myself more kind of like easy breezy, low stakes readings. So although I have been in a bit of a tarot slump, I don't think I'd call it tarot burnout because I still love thinking about tarot and playing with my cards as much as ever. I think I just do want to continue to carve out some time or set myself up with some practices that are a little bit more low stakes. I am inspired by a comment that Kelly Bear left on my tarot books video about how she likes having a questions book for practice questions for kind of tarot practice. And I'm thinking that might be an interesting way to get back into reading, but being low stakes. Those books that are like, I think there's one that's like 1001 tarot questions or something, and it's just like example querents, basically example clients. I think that might maybe be a fun way to kind of feel less slumpy when I'm not feeling very inspired or just motivated or energized or something. I don't know what the word is, but I don't feel burned out. I just don't feel like I'm in the groove of my tarot practice, I suppose, is the only real way I can put it. And I think a larger question I want to ask myself is I want to ask and answer for myself what tarot is for me, what my tarot practice is beyond the like question and answer format. So if I come up with anything good, I might film a follow-up video and let you know how to kind of get out of a tarot slump or whatever. But in the meantime, there are other things that have been holding my interest, holding my attention. And one of those, as I have already mentioned, is astrology. I've been really, really into my astrology study. Obviously, I've been combining astrology with tarot a lot, which is not new for me, but I've been getting even more into it. I have been getting into studying astrology as well, and I've got into a really good rhythm over the past few weeks of kind of writing my daily little horoscope or just looking at what's going on in the sky and in my chart. Partly, this renewed interest has been sparked by the fact that I discovered that my birth time was a lie. I discovered when I was looking at some old photos that the birth time I thought I had was actually off by 3.5 hours, which is quite significant. That has changed all of my house placements. It's changed my ascendant. Obviously, the planets are in the same signs, so like the like conjunctions and oppositions and things are still there, but they're all in different houses, and it's changed things really significantly. Everything has moved houses. I'm now a Libra rising. I'm no longer a Virgo rising, and I don't know how I feel about that. But I'm a Libra rising, a Libra sun. Depending on the house system I use, my sun is actually in the 12th house, which is kind of heavy. Mars is on the midheaven. Like it's all moved. It's interesting. It kind of threw me because I was so used to looking at my chart and so used to where things were. But of course, the signs are still the same. It's not like it's a different chart, but it's thrown me into trying to figure out house systems, and it's just kind of renewed my interest in studying astrology for myself as I'm trying to figure out my new-ish chart. And so I've kind of been creating my own astrology almanac for myself almost, and I do this with a lot of help. I've got the digital version of my honeycomb almanac, which is a astrological almanac that is personalized to your rising time, your birth time, your sign, your chart. So it includes all of your personal transits, and I've been using that to do some of my like daily horoscopes with. I also am a absolute stan for anything that Chani Nicholas does. So the Chani app I use a lot. And I also am on AstroSeek every single day now because I like to look at the kind of chart for the day where the planets are at any given moment. I've also been combing through Alice Sparkly Cat's blog back catalogue, which is what a lot of the notes I have in here are. There we go. Like here, this was some notes that I took from two of Alice Sparkly Cat's blog posts about exaltation and fall to do with your like chart ruler, because that's the other thing. I'm now a Libra rising, so my chart ruler is Venus instead of Mercury, and I'm not gonna lie, that's been a bit of an ego bruise in a way because I really heavily identified with being a Mercury ruled chart and having my Mercury in the third house, and now depending on which chart I use, And what I've got here at the front is I've got my chart with Placidus or with whole sign houses, and you can see everything's in different houses, and it's just really like, this is my little notes to myself of what changes. So my Mercury is now either in my first or my second house, depending on which house system I use, and my chart ruler, which is Venus, is either in my first or my second house, depending which chart system I use. So like, I don't know, because forgive me, I'm going to go on a little astrology house tangent here. But if I use whole sign houses, which is what this chart is, my sun is kind of above my ascendant, and it feels weird to have it in the same house if it's above the ascendant, and same with here on the midheaven. My Mars is this sign of my midheaven, my moon is the other side, and it feels weird to have them in the same house when they are divided by the midheaven line. So I don't know. I think I'm turning into a Placidus girly, which I never thought I would say. But then this is really cool, because this means I say cool, interesting. This puts my sun in the 12th house, which is the house of like secrets and hidden things and mysteries and stuff like that. And the sun, the astrological luminary, the sun, rules the sign of Leo. And because Placidus gives you uneven house sizes, especially if you're at any kind of latitude, and I don't know if it's easy to see, but none of the house cusps are in the sign of Leo. So Leo is an intercepted sign. Leo doesn't rule any houses in my chart. And then the planet that is ruled by Leo, which is an intercepted sign, is in my 12th house of like hidden, mysterious, secret things that nobody talks about. So that's just really interesting. And I don't know how I feel about that. But like, that's really cool. It's been really cool to look at all these like differences. Thing is also, I was very connected. I identified really heavily with having a third house stellium, which is now over here. It's obviously still in Scorpio. It's just in the first/second house, depending which one you're looking at. But I do still have a conjunction in my third house in a Placidus chart. So my third house is still quite busy because I've got Neptune and Uranus there sitting next to each other. They're 2 degrees apart. So like, my third house is still busy with a Placidus chart, and Virgo rules my 11th and my 12th house technically, because to kind of compensate for the intercepted Leo, it means that Virgo is ruling 2 houses. So I've been having a lot of fun with astrology. I've been kind of, like I say, making my own almanac. I've got my own little like notes on the planets and the signs and the houses and things. And this has been something I've been spending a lot of time in, that I might otherwise usually be spending on tarot or other hobbies and interests. I don't know, that was a little bit of a tangent, so I'm going to put her away. That is where my tarot practice has been lately, or not been, as the case may actually be. A little bit of lab work, a few favourite decks, some things falling away, some things taking their place. I've been trying to find almost like my minimum viable practice, like, like the minimum, what is it, the minimum viable product or the minimum viable something. I'm trying to figure out what my minimum viable practice is to still feel like I am actively, ongoingly engaging in my tarot practice, if that makes any kind of sense. Yeah, if I come up with anything good, I'll let you know. But until then, I want to know, what do you do when your practice slows down? Leave me a comment and let me know. Also, leave me a little star emoji to let me know you made it all the way to the end. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending some time with me. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, come join us over on Patreon. Links to that, links to my Etsy store, all that good stuff is in the description. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.